G'day everyone. The Yin Tiger is an absolute banger of a boss. It's very hard, very rewarding, and surprisingly far more fun than I was expecting. When you defeat the Yin Tiger, you get some very powerful rewards, one of which granting permanent character power as well as a few other items and spells. It is well worth your time to persist and get this boss down. So let's have a look. Now when you first attempt the Yin Tiger, I know it's a bit overwhelming. It's like, whoa, what on earth is this kitty cat doing? It feels very intense, relentless and sporadic without much sense to the attacks, but there actually is phases to this fight, although it's not obvious, and I hope to highlight this for you to give a bit of structure to the fight. Alright, so first we're going to look at a few of his main combos in phase 1 that form the core of his moveset, and then I'll talk a little more about the phases and the structure of the fight overall. Now at the start of every fight he'll sharpen his blade for a moment, so a super easy tip to start with is just to charge a full heavy attack at the start before moving anywhere. Now this is number 1 of his 2 main bread and butter combos that you absolutely need to become comfortable dodging. You recognize it by him starting with a clockwise twirl with the sword above his head like this. Assuming you are front onto the boss, you will first see the sword pointing to the right like it is here. The sword is also just its normal grey metal colour, which is a key distinction to note. This attack is a 4-part slashing combo that in general requires 4 dodges to avoid. You need a slight delay after your first and second roll, and then your third and fourth rolls are back to back. Now this is not the other main combo, we'll see that in a minute, but it is one of his dangerous and powered abilities that you really want to be able to recognize. So the main thing to be looking for here is the way he's crouching down like this. He's not twirling or anything, just crouching with the sword pointed to the side like that. Now when you see this, he's about to do a 3-part slashing attack, followed immediately by his empowered uppercut combo. By empowered, I just mean those attacks that glow orange like that. The first part just needs 3 dodges with slight delay between each, and then I'll show you later from other clips how to dodge this, but the thing I'm recommending is just to use Cloud Step when you see this ability coming. There is a few of those empowered abilities and they definitely hurt the most. They can also be tricky to avoid, so I'm recommending to just use Cloud Step like this. I will show you how to dodge them all later though. Alright, now periodically throughout the fight, the boss will disappear and commence a Cloud Step combo where he blinks in and out, doing a number of strikes with different patterns. Now there's a few really important things to talk about here because this is where the fight can feel like it gets a little out of hand. So the first thing to set yourself up for success here is to know what's coming before you even see it. And what you're looking for is actually the animation of when the boss first disappeared. So there is 2 different distinct ways the boss can disappear. This is the first one where he does a backwards somersault. He turns and he does a bit of a flip. Let's see it again and also listen. He says, "Into the leaves."
Into the leaves.
Alright, now we're going to compare this with a clip from a little later in the fight where he does the other version of disappearing. Take note, he doesn't do any flips, he turns and he runs and then disappears. He also doesn't say anything, he just has a little grunt. Now this is the one where he blinks back in and stuns you and does the cutscene if he hits you. That's also the ability that marks a change in phase. He only does that one about 2 or 3 times throughout the fight, but we'll look at that more later. So back to this one, whenever you see the backwards flip, that indicates that he's going to do the blink sequence attacking. He's not going to do the phase transition one. Alright, so now we know he's going to attack us with a sequence of blinks, but what one is he going to do? Well, that's where the catchphrase, "into the leaves," comes in. That means he's going to do the one that I'm about to take you through. I'm also nearly certain that he only does this one in phase 1 before you get that other form of disappearing. So the first blink attack for "into the leaves" is going to be a single overhead slam, followed by a very delayed 360 sweep. The second blink will be a single sweeping slash that requires one very slightly delayed dodge after you first see him. And then the third time he blinks, he's going to appear somewhere towards the edge of the room and he'll commence 2 big slams that cause eruptions through the ground towards you. Those eruptions do have a follow-up pulse of damage. Now to consistently dodge the 2 ground slams and the eruptions, this is what I do. The only thing that I'm looking at is his right foot. I'm not looking at his arms or his sword or anything like that, just his right foot, and I'm waiting for that to come off the ground. As soon as I register it coming off the ground, I do 4 rolls in back-to-back succession. You can do all 4 in one direction, or you can go 2 one way and then 2 back the other way. Alright, let's see the whole thing in normal time. Another important thing to note for all of these blink phases is that the boss will always appear the way your camera is facing, not the way your character is facing, the way your camera is facing. So you don't need to turn around and do 360s and look around, just literally look in front and wait. Alright, so that's the "into the leaves" blink sequence. From all my testing, he only does that at the first part of the fight in phase 1. So if you're chunking him down quickly, you might not even see that. This was just his 4 slashing combo that I've already showed you, one of his 2 main ones. Alright, and here is his second main combo that you really need to be familiar with. How do you recognize it? Well, this time it's a counterclockwise twirl with the sword above his head, and this time the sword isn't its grey metal, it has that red tinge on the outside. If you front onto the boss, you'll also see the sword initially pointing left. So when you see this coming, this is a 6-part combo. It starts with the initial slash, followed by a shoulder charge, a third slash, he then does a flip that has 2 hits registered, and then a final, very slow delayed sweep. Dodge once into that first slash once you register it coming, and then once he's in this position for the shoulder charge, it comes out a bit quicker than you'd think. You need to be ready for it, and it might take a bit of getting used to. The third slash you don't typically see because of the way he kind of slides around you, so just follow that second roll with a third, moving away from him. Now, as the boss goes into his flipping slash, he'll actually register a hit on the way through here. If you're close to him, you need to dodge. If you're far away, you can just avoid it. But I recommend just build the memory of dodging. Immediately follow that with another dodge, and then while he's facing away from you here, he's charging up a very slow delayed sweep. I actually always followed this with a single auto attack to bring me back into range, and it wastes the right amount of time to follow it with your final dodge. Or if you're in the smash stance, this is the perfect spot to do that one auto attack and then straight into your resolute strike, like I do here, and it's the last attack in the sequence, so you can do the follow-up one as well. Let's see that one more time in normal speed. As I said, this is one of his 2 main core abilities, I think, and definitely one that you really need to be familiar and comfortable dodging. Alright, so we're about to see the first transition disappearance, that other type that I showed you before. It usually happens around 75%, I'm not sure, but I think it's a percentage based one. Now you definitely can dodge this, I didn't there, but it's fine. Whether you get hit by it or not, this is what I'm talking about in terms of phase transition. Phase 1 was before this, we're now into phase 2. I will show you how to dodge it later. Alright, now he nearly always follows that phase transition with going straight back into a blink sequence. And here we see him doing his little jump backwards, so we know it's going to be an attacking blink sequence, not a phase transition. Now we're in phase 2 and his catchword changes. Now he says ride with the gale, as you can see there, which tells you that this is a different attacking blink sequence. So let's have a look at it. So ride with the gale will always start with an aerial ground slam, followed by 3 separate blinks, each with their own individual slash. After the third one, he'll stay there, and he'll then do an empowered horizontal sweep. Similar, but slightly different from the uppercut. The 3 individual blink slashes are actually pretty easy to dodge. Each of them just has a slightly delayed dodge as they come out at you. Pretty simple. The one you'll want to learn is the initial ground slam. The camera won't follow him, so what I'm watching for is this little collection of leaves that floats up into the air with the wind. As most of those leaves leave through the top of your screen, you want to do one dodge. This might take a few tries to get used to. As I said, don't freak out and run around during these phases. Just stay still, keeping focus on the middle of the screen. Don't worry about where the character is facing. Now, this is another time where I recommend to use Cloud Step to just simplify this big empowered combo. Now, this is not very common, but he can occasionally activate the empowered combos, uppercut or sweep, just by themselves. This one here is the uppercut that we saw in phase 1. When you get this, it requires 2 rolls, one after the first 360 and then one after the second as he does the big empowered one. When he goes for one of his cool little combat rolls like this is one of his more basic 2-part abilities. It'll be a single somersault slash followed by one of those very delayed sweeps. This one's easier to see coming because he does that big telegraphed somersault. And here's one of his other basic combos when he runs at you like this. In phase 1, I believe this is always only a 2-part combo. The first slash as he runs at you, and then a second delayed sweeping slash. Now in phase 2, this ability sometimes, not always, but sometimes, has the empowered sweep at the back of it. The way I dodge this is that once I see and register his hands coming around to the front like this, I do 2 rolls. I don't think you need the first one, but that's just how I've learnt it, and it works. The empowered sweep also sometimes has this additional shoulder charge and slash. Once you see this shoulder charge stance with his weapon still empowered, you want to do 1 roll through him. Now coming up is one that I've already gone through, you should recognize this stance. It's simply those 3 slashes, which he can then follow with the empowered uppercut, but he doesn't in this instance. Now in phase 2 and 3, he has this ability where he flips backwards and jumps up into the air saying the words down with might. For this ability, you want to dodge once as he finishes the word might. And then he follows the ground slam with a single delayed slash. He will also usually follow this with the empowered sweep and empowered shoulder charge that I just showed you. Again, those are good options to use Cloud Step and just wait them out. Now my heavy attack interrupts his main 4-slash combo here. Now this is his last blink sequence that we haven't seen yet. He disappeared on the spot rather than flipping backwards, and he also didn't say any catchwords, so that's how I know it's what's coming. This will start with an aerial ground slam as well, similar to the last one, but rather than 3 separate blink slashes, we're going to get a running jump slam, followed by one of those delayed sweeping slashes. He didn't there, but he can sometimes add those empowered sweeps onto the back of that. This is one of the main 2 combos, the 6-part one with the little shoulder charge. Again, leading into that last sweep, I recommend 1 light attack followed by a dodge or a resolute strike, but for whatever reason I used Cloud Step there, which still works. Now this is one of his simple basic abilities that he can do as early as phase 1. He'll do a single downward slash followed by one of those delayed 360 sweeps. Again, we saw this earlier, he can do these empowered uppercuts and sweeps just by themselves like this. Again, just 2 dodges as you saw there. Alright, so I'll just show you a few other abilities we didn't see there, starting starting with the phase transition that I didn't show you how to dodge. So as a reminder, when you see him running away before disappearing without doing a flip or anything, that means it's going to be a phase transition. When you see this, just start walking back and have your finger on your dodge keybind ready to react quickly with a dodge. Now you're basically listening for a high-pitched chime that will happen the moment he appears. That is your cue to dodge instantly. And so that's the noise you're listening for. If you hit it as soon as you hear that little high-pitched chime, you should be fine. Similar to Down with Might, sometimes he jumps away and says, "and take this," but it seems to function the same. He'll come back down after the ground slam and do one single slash. He can then follow that with the empowered sweep or sometimes the 4-slash combo. Now in phase 2 and onwards, our 4-slash combo can also get empowered to be 6 slashes. It'll add 2 additional slashes at the end of it. You need to leave a decent delay between each dodge. Now when you trigger the transition to phase 2 before you get the Into the Leaves blink sequence, you tend to get this additional move right after you transition through the phases. It's a slightly longer version of the 2 ground slams with eruptions that we got at the end of Into the Leaves. For this one I used 3 dodges each way, and then there's also a final sweeping slash at the end. For the empowered sweeping slash that comes through at the end of this, if you started your dodges kind of late, your 6th dodge will actually dodge that as well. If you're early, you'll need to do a 7th dodge to dodge that as it comes through. Alright, that's enough for abilities and combos. Let's have a quick look at spells and how you should use them. Now first up, Immobilize and Ring of Fire both seem to do more harm than good. As you saw just there, and you'll see it again in a second, as soon as I immobilize them, the very first light attack breaks it, and he goes into a blink sequence straight away. And I found the same thing happened with Ring of Fire. As soon as I used it, it would interrupt whatever he was doing, for the most part, but then he would immediately blink away and start some aggressive combo. It happened just there, and then there's another Ring of Fire example coming up here. As soon as the Ring of Fire hits him, he blinks away and starts another sequence. So neither of these seem worth using and actually counterproductive. The alteration spells seem fine. You've already seen that Cloud Step works and is quite useful, and here there's 2 clips of Stone Form. It interrupts his combos and does its job. Now I used illusions a few times, and these seem to trigger his big ground slam eruption AoE attack straight away. Although these ones do enough damage, and especially if you've upgraded them in the talents, that it might actually still be worth using if you can just dodge the eruptions. If you don't want to overcomplicate it, maybe avoid that too. So with those points in mind, and some of the spells being more harm than good, it's definitely worth considering using Spellbinder for this fight actually. If you really want to use your alteration and transformations, those will still be fine, but if you're not really big on those, definitely consider Spellbinder. While I talk to you about my build, I'm going to play this other clip here where I use Spellbinder and a much more offensive approach, and it actually works really well. It's a very clean kill. I only got hit a few times towards the end, I think. So when it comes to the build, I'm not going to recommend a specific weapon or armor set, because people will have access to challenge this boss throughout all different stages of the game. So in general, use obviously whatever attack is highest on weapons, or that has a particular passive, and use your highest defense armor, unless you have something that synergizes particularly well. Given that the spells are not particularly useful on this fight, if you do normally put points into those trees, consider taking them out of those and putting them into some of the other raw stats like health, stamina, attack, and defense. Remember, you also get quite a lot of defense from the passive nodes in the transformation tree. You can obviously take all of the raw stats that are available in the survival tree, and then I also recommend non-able, because the passive on non-able spirit gives flat attack, crit, and crit damage. As in all of my videos, I think the stamina tree is the single most important. Enhancing your dodges is just far too valuable, so fill out the whole stamina tree. Take the left side of your martial tree for light attacks and increasing focus gain, and then obviously fill out whichever stance you use. In this one I'm using the smash stance, partly because you get that free smash right at the beginning, and then I also like the synergy with Resolute Strike with a lot of these delayed attacks. I don't know what level you're actually supposed to fight this boss at. For reference, I'm level 71 here. I'm only partway through chapter 4, but I've spent quite a bit of time going back over things and testing things, so I'm probably a little over leveled. Because you can just keep challenging this guy over and over again, I spent quite a bit of time getting as much info as I could here, because this guy does give some seriously good rewards, and it would be great to see more people get him down, because he's pretty tough. So if you did learn something from this, or it helped you kill the boss, please like and subscribe, or leave a comment letting me know how you went, or if there's things that I haven't picked up that you have, please share them for other people to learn from. Thanks for listening everyone, cheers.